There we are. Hey, everybody. Ma'am, a little tug. All right, let me get my messages set up here. All right, Art Night. Loaves of Fishes. Hello, hello. Looks like we got 8 people. So we're finally back. I had camera problems again last Friday, and I don't have any idea what was wrong with it. I walked away from it because it was just acting up, wasn't connecting. Came down Saturday, see if we can figure out what the hell it is this time. And so I set it up just like a normal live cam, and it just worked. And like everything connected, and there was the camera, and so we're live streaming. And so I have no idea why it didn't work Friday night, but it's working now. So we're just going to go with it. We got some stuff to cover tonight. Hey, Rosie. Hey, Cornish. I have 2 new fish that we're going to be looking at tonight. One of them, I hope we're going to be looking at it or not. And then the other one is, I can already say, the coolest fish I've ever owned in the entire time I've owned fishes. It's amazing. So we'll get to that when we get to it. But first, let's get started with some feeding. Hello, Dade. And we will get right into it. Shamu, my son. I'm having some special everyday fish keeping danielhiteshew branded psilocybin juice. There's an 1/8 of mushrooms in here, so I got to kind of take it easy on this one. So let's get started on the feeding, and then we'll go around and we'll have a look at the new fish. I also got some mystery snails to put in the fancy goldfish tank. Got algae issues in there already, so I think the mystery snails will help with that. And I'm going to put some food in the tower, and hopefully that'll get the fish over there and swimming up into the tower. I need to pull this tower down out of here and clean the glass on the inside. It's getting all covered in algae. Sprinkling flake food into your hands when they're wet is probably not the best of ideas, but there you go. Probably not the worst idea I've ever had, but it certainly wasn't the best one. I ordered some new equipment. That will be here. When will that be here? Tomorrow? No, Wednesday it'll be here. Got some sponge filter action going on. We'll talk about that as the evening progresses. Shirley, Robert, how are you? Well, I don't think it'll be spoiling the surprise too much if I tell you one of the new fish I got is betta fish. I got another betta, and I originally put it in the goldfish tank, the fancy goldfish tank. I thought it would look awesome in there, and since everybody in that tank moves around really, really slowly, I didn't think it would be an issue. But the betta did not seem happy in there at all. It just kept cowering in the corner. It was hiding up at the top, like behind the filter where there's no water movement. And it just looked lost and forlorn in that big open empty tank. And Steve suggested I put it in the 40 that's filterless. It's nice, calm. There's no real current or movement in the tank. Got a lot of live bears in there and that angelfish. And so I took it out of the 60 and I put it over there, and it looks great. You can't always see it. There's a lot of vegetation in that tank, and it's just a little betta fish, so it does disappear down into the bushes quite often. But it also is out and about quite often too. It's a betta fish, so they're not exactly reclusive. It's really cool looking. I don't know if the camera's going to do it justice. It's a koi, and it's got like red, white, and blue splotches and blotches all over it. But the blue is like this real, almost like a turquoise iridescent color. It's really amazing. There's a big koi up in that tower. It looks like college students in a phone booth. We need to cram a few more of them in there. Steve. Yeah, Rosie, I agree. That was Arknight's idea to build one. And so I started with an experimental proof of concept, thinking like, it'll be interesting, but whatever, I can take it down if I don't like it. And immediately it was just cool as shit. And so Steve actually offered me that 6-gallon tank, which almost seems like it was custom made to fit right there. And it all came together. And so now that's our official tower that's part of the pond, and it looks awesome. And I come in here throughout the day, I look in or whatever, and the fish do go in there. The one fish I see in there the most, I'm not really sure why, possibly because of the algae eating tendencies, is a black molly. I didn't even know I had any mollies. I don't even remember putting I vaguely remember putting a couple black mollies in this pond when I first built it. And so apparently at least one of those black mollies is still alive, because I see it up in that tower all the time, like feeding off the glass, eating the algae off the glass. So that's interesting. I found out I got a fish that I'd forgotten I had. Camden, hello. Janice. Well, if you're going to get one for an Oscar, Shirley, I would get a 20 long, or a 20 standard or something. You're going to need a pretty big tower for an Oscar to get up into. Although, having said that, I mean, those koi I've got are not small fish, and they go up in there easily enough. Obviously, I wouldn't try to keep them in a tank that size, but they don't seem to mind swimming up into it and getting some food and drifting back out. I see the goldfish up in there a lot during the day too. But I see all kinds of, all of them in there at some point or another. I'll see the koi up in there, but it's mostly that molly, and then some of the smaller goldfish go up in there more frequently. Heavyweight, how are you? It's been a pretty good Sunday so far, doing the usual laundry for the week and cleaning up crap, taking stuff out. My wife got all her lunches made for the week. Yeah, I saw that, Shirley. I was actually going to do a live stream last night. Laura. I was going to do a live stream last night to make up for both Wednesday's members live stream that I missed. I wasn't feeling well. And then Friday nights didn't work because I couldn't get my camera to connect. And so I was going to do a makeup live stream on last night. But I saw that Shirley went live at 7, and I thought, she's not going to be done by 8. And so I just said, screw it, and got on with my evening. I didn't want to step on her toes, and I didn't want to have people trying to decide whether to watch mine or hers or whatever. So I said, it's Saturday night. I got other stuff I can do. And so I actually ate a bunch of mushrooms last night. I know that's going to be a big shock to you. Actually, I did not eat mushrooms last night is what I meant to say. Now take a few days off. I needed a break from the mushrooms. Although I'm back on them today, baby. I've been taking mushroom tea since 11:30 this morning. Well, sort of. I say that in a way that makes it sound like I've been drinking it all day long. I drank some tea between 11:30 and 12:30 this morning. Had a nice little ride with that. That wound down by about 6 o'clock or so. And so I made an eighth into another batch of tea. And so we're going to work our way through the entire eighth during the live stream here tonight. Most of that will be in the latter part. So, the real experience will be happening after the live stream for the most part, but I'm pretty far along the way already. What the fuck are you doing smoking cigarettes? Why would you do that? She should have yelled at you. I didn't even know you did smoke. Speaking of lid, I will add there's a little bit of a tentacle new fish I got that is the most awesome fish I've ever had. And I'm not saying that hyperbolically. I do genuinely believe it is the most awesome fish I've ever had. I put it in that 40 breeder that had the discus in it and everything. I tore it down. I really wanted to do that open top. I had like some visions and some ideas of how I wanted that to look. And, you know, not so much with the fish that would go in it, but I had some ideas of what the tank was going to look like. And then the fish would come later when I figured out what would work in it. And so I did decide the other day that I'm not married to having an open top tank. I do have a lid for it. I've got lights on it. You know, that's the way it was set up before. I can just put the lid back on and have, you know, a real closed top fish tank. So that is what I did. So that should give you a pretty solid clue as to what kind of fish I got. Yeah, Dave, the koi go up in there a lot. If you were here a little bit ago, I was when the food was in the tank. It was really up in there quite a bit. All right, let's move on to the fancy goldfish tank. Let me actually turn this light out while I'm thinking about it so we don't get the glare on everybody else the rest of the night. We can always turn it back on if we need to. Not a lot else going on with this pond real quick. The $1 dragon tree I bought there, I got that for $1. It's looking amazing. At one point, I was actually going to do this on Friday night. We need to do a terrarium night. We need to get in here and do some terrarium maintenance at some point. This thing is just growing out of control, beastly. There's an orchid in there, which I don't even know if the orchid's still alive. I think it's still alive. I think you can kind of almost see some of the foliage on it down there. Anyway, you get the idea. We definitely need to get in here and vegetation out. I don't think I chose all the best plants to put in a very tiny, tiny little container like that. So we will be doing that at one point. This is actually a plant that I've got a big pot upstairs with a big pothos in it on a trellis. I'm making it into like a pothos tree, and a little seedling popped up, and I decided I was going to find out what that little seedling was, and it turned out to be this. So one of our house plants must have dropped a seed or something, and it sprouted, and so now I got this down here. I trimmed my dragon's breath there the other day. Through all the pieces in the pond, you can still see there's a few floating around here and there, but the goldfish make short work of that. They tear it up pretty fast. Like there's another piece still floating in there. There's a little more over here, but they go through that pretty quickly. Otherwise, I don't really think there's much to update on the pond, but I did get a new base station. You see my little table here on wheels? This is the kind of table you get at a nursing home or a hospital where they can wheel it over the bed. It raises up and down. So it goes all the way down to a perfect level for where if I'm sitting, it'll be right in front of me, or I can raise it all the way up, and when I'm standing, it's perfect. And I can also wheel it in and out of the way as I need it. So I'm stoked on that. I don't have to put my laptop and all my shit on a bunch of buckets anymore like I was doing before. So let's wheel this. Oh, do I have the brake set? Oh, no, I just have it pushed up against cords. Oh, I did have the brake set. All right, get that out of the way. I really wish there was, I guess there is something I can do. Technically, I can put a piece of wood or something over here and, block out the light from that reflection, but I hate that row of lights that you can see in every tank in the room when you're looking at it. I can't decide whether the water looks a little bit cloudy in this tank or if it is grunge on the glass. I'm pretty sure it's a little bit of both, honestly. I know that the algae on the glass grows quickly in this tank. But I also think the water looks a little cloudy, a little off. Might even be a little green. So I ordered sponge filters. I got a 2-pack for $13. I did look at the Higer, and I actually wanted to talk a little bit about the filter I got versus the Higer and why I got the cheapie instead of spending the money on the Higer, etc. So let me get caught up on some comments and we can go over that. Well, I've never heard of anybody quitting vaping by smoking cigarettes. It's pretty much the other way around. Because of the way the nicotine is delivered, etc. They say that quitting vaping is a lot easier than quitting cigarettes, and that's why you use vaping to get off of cigarettes, not the other way around. So that's kind of weird, but whatever works for you, man. Oh, that's cool, Shirley. Thank you, Laura. There you go, Art. That's a good plan. That should get you right off the coffee. Oh, you're not kidding, Janice. The goldfish look so much happier in this tank. I know it's kind of hard to say when fish look happy or not, whether, we could argue all night whether they're, even genuinely experience happiness. But for purposes of this conversation, I will definitely say that I do believe the fish look a lot happier. If nothing else, they've just got a lot more room to move around in, and they seem to be doing that. I've never had a dojo loach. I've got the coolie loaches, but I've always wanted a dojo or a weather. Well, it's not like you just get what they give you, Brandon. You buy the strength you want. If you're trying to quit, you get gradually lower and lower strengths. I actually started on 55 milligram nicotine because I thought that's what I wanted, and that stuff makes me almost sick. It's so strong. This is 25, and this is perfect. 25 or 30 is right where I like to be. One or two puffs is a nice, amount of nicotine. If I want to really get like my head spinning a little bit, I can do 3 or 4, and it gets me there. But I'm not like Steve says. He's a constant puffer. He puffs throughout the day. That's why he uses a lower dose of the nicotine. I don't. I do a few puffs. I get my nicotine levels back up, and then I set the device down, and it just sits there until I start thinking that, like, man, I could use some nicotine, and then I pick it up and I hit it a couple times again, just put it back down. So I definitely just do it as like a delivery. It's just a nicotine delivery device, and that's really all it is for me. And tonight we are enjoying my snickerdoodle flavor. It tastes just like a snickerdoodle cookie. It's really good. All right, and if somebody could stop sign me, that'd be perfect. Hey, Ian's, how are you this evening? You're not kidding there, Shamu. I was actually thinking about you earlier. I'm considering getting one of those magnetic glass scrapers, which I really don't like. Oh, thank you, everybody, for the stop signs. I really don't like those magnetic glass scrapers, but this tank, and it's a 60 picture window or a 60 picture or something like that. I don't remember exactly what he called it, but it's meant to be a really, really big viewing pane. And it's got like a half an acre of glass that you got to wipe down. And it's so tall, I can just about get my armpit over it. And even when I roll my shirt up, it still gets wet. Um, it's a pain in the ass just wiping the glass down on this tank. So without my little step stool, you know, like I don't want to have to get out a step stool to wipe the glass down on the tank. So I'm either going to get a, you know, one of those long handled sponges that I can just sort of sponge it, or I'm going to get one of those stupid magnetic scrapers, which I fucking hate. But I think one of the reasons I hate them is because everybody I've ever seen use one just leaves it in their tank. They'll just like move it up into the corner and they leave the magnet on the outside, plus they leave the spongy thing on the inside. I wouldn't do that. I would put it in the tank, use it, and then, you know, bring it back up to the top where I could easily remove it from the tank, and, you know, the glass would be wiped down and that's all I would have to do with it. But the more I look at it, there's definitely like growth all over that glass, obscuring our view a little bit there, making it look more hazy than it really is. I kind of thought I might get a little bit of water clouding. If we look down through the water without the glass, you can see it is still a little bit off. It's not perfectly clear. But you also can tell that a lot of that, well, let's see what he looks like or she looks like swimming from above. Look how narrow that tank is. It looks like a coffin. 6 inches wide and 9 feet tall. They've got just about enough room to turn around. If they want to go up and down, they can do that all day. But if they want to turn around, they got to do it carefully. So it's basically the dimensions of a 55, except it's 4 inches taller than a 55. So it's only a foot deep and 4 feet wide. And then it's like 25 inches tall or something. It's a really tall tank. So anyway, I ordered some sponge filters for it because I need a lot of biofiltration in this tank. And while I've got I've got two 60s on the back, the hang on the back 60s. And so that's got lots of biofiltration. I put these two sponges on here. That's more biofiltration. But the tank is still new and it's partially new. I reused filters and stuff, but it's probably going to go through a little bit of a growing back in phase. So I'm not too worried about it being a little off at the moment. It will eventually clear up. But I still want to get a sponge filter on it. I don't want two of those 60s on the back necessarily. I think one is plenty, but I still want an air stone in it. And if I'm going to put an air stone in it, I may as well attach it to a sponge filter. And so instead of buying one of the standard round, pet store sponge filters that sits on the bottom, I bought one of those kind that has the two, bar across the bottom, and then has the two upright columns with the sponges on them, and then the one central line in the middle for the bubbles. So I got one of those, but I got a 2-pack because we're going to put one of them in my other tank that we're going to look at, the 40. That's still a secret until we see that one. So one's going to go in there, one's going to go in here. And I looked at the Higer, and the Higer looked really nice, except it was a little confusing for me. The thing that made the Higer special and different, I don't know if you just noticed that movement down there, but if you see that big ass mystery snail right here, that's one of the mystery snails I put in there. So I got a black one, ivory one, and a white one in there somewhere. So when I looked at the Higer was interesting. I'm assuming you all are familiar with the style of filter. They've been around for years, and I'm sure you've all seen them. But the Higer, at the base, it's got the two pieces that come down on the side with the sponges on them, and then the line that goes over in the middle, and then the central column that goes up. With the Higer, on either side, at the bottom of where the sponges were, was a container that you could put biomaterial in, like the picture showed, like ceramic rings or bio balls or something like that in there. And it just, I don't understand that. You put biofiltration in a filter that doesn't have biofiltration. It's like a mechanical filter. On one of these, you got your mechanical filtration, but then you add your biofiltration because the mechanical filtration doesn't really do anything. If I already had the biological filtration, I wouldn't add a second biological filtration. That's where it doesn't make sense for me. So hang on a minute. I was dropping the lid there and I needed both hands to get it. I happened to have the camera in one of them. So the whole purpose of a sponge filter is to be a biofilter. It's not for mechanical filtration. The sponge doesn't remove a lot of stuff from the tank. The sponge is there to provide surface area for your biological cultures to live. And then as the water gets pulled through it, it's just this massive amount of biofiltration that you get from the sponge. Why would you have a second compartment on there that just makes it more complicated, more stuff you've got to deal with and clean, and you got to put like biostones and that doesn't make any sense to me. So I thought that was way ridiculous, overkill. It was $18 and you only got the single unit. It did come with 2 replacement sponges, but it was only a single plastic frame unit. So at the end of the day, I need a plastic frame that's got holes in it with sponges on it, and I can connect an air hose to it. You know, I don't need to buy some expensive name brand version of that. I just need a simple plastic tube that air and water can flow through. And so that's what I got. And I got 2 of them for $13. So I saved $5 and I got an extra one, and I don't have to do all the extra maintenance of dealing with having a secondary compartment with completely unnecessary biofiltration in it. And I don't know, to me that just seemed like one of those gimmicks that's designed to get people to buy it because it makes it look extra cool. I can't see the monitor, so I'm assuming you get a decent enough look. Here, let me wheel my monitor out. It's the whole point of getting it on a wheeled cart so I can do this. Hey, look at that. I can see my monitor now. So that is my new betta fish. And it is a koi. This fish does not have a name. I did give my other new fish a name. We can play a guessing game. I'll bet $10,000 nobody guesses. Nobody guesses the name. Zini knows what the name is, and I told Steve what the name is, so they don't get to play. But Zini said he wanted to be here for when I said the name, and I think he's asleep. I haven't heard from him all day today, and so that usually means he zonked out and he's going to wake up half an hour after the stream's over. So we'll wait till we get around to that tank before we give it away. And does anybody know? I don't think they do, but I'm curious as to whether or not betta fish eat algae. I thought they were kind of predatory. They ate like small crustaceans and worms and bugs and stuff like that. But I am curious as to whether or not they are algae eaters at all. I haven't had the chance to look it up. It'll take about 2 seconds to do so. I just haven't thought about it. The magnet of terror. Smash that like button. Yeah, it's you get a whole different experience on that tank when you look straight down into it, don't you? Oh, okay, cool, Steve. I won't waste money buying one. Yeah, it's a huge, huge piece of glass on the front of this tank. Well, that tank, you're not looking at it anymore, but I'm standing in front of it. TK, hello. Hamilton, how are you? Loaves and fishes. Yeah, I didn't think they did either, but I was kind of curious. The thing that got me thinking about it was it had been in there for a day, and when I'd put some food in there, it didn't really seem interested in it. And I began to wonder, there's so much algae in this tank that like maybe it was just didn't really feel the need for food because it was getting plenty of algae to eat or something. And then I thought that doesn't sound right. I've never heard of a betta fish being an algae eater. I thought they were like predatory fish. And so I don't know, but it seems to be happy enough. Every time I look at it, it's in there doing its thing, swimming around, poking around in the bushes. And this tank is so seasoned and well matured that it very likely could be finding little crustaceans and worms and things for it to eat naturally in there. I mean, you guys have seen what this tank looks like, you know, looking down in it from the top. I don't get much of a view because of all the duckweed, but you definitely get an idea of how much vegetation and whatnot is in there. There's huge caves and rocks, and there's several pieces of wood. So if anything was going to be, living in sort of a natural environment in there, I think this would be a good tank for a predatory fish that's going to hunt for that kind of stuff should do okay in this tank. I would suspect anyway. This tank's actually got a little bit of biofilm on the surface, and the food's not really breaking through. So my biological filters that I ordered, yes, it is a male. The sponge filters will be here tomorrow, but my high carry algae wafers are running very low, so I reordered a new bag of them. And I was surprised the price on them hadn't really gone up. It was $50 for the kilo size bag, but the last bag I opened on July 25th of last year, and I still got a couple, maybe 2 weeks worth of algae wafers left to go before they're gone. So, from July to February, for $50, so $50 is a lot to spend. But if I was buying the small containers of them from the PetSmart, I would have spent $500 on them by now. So it's worth it buying in bulk. But those will be here Tuesday or Wednesday, and then tomorrow is when the sponge filters get here. So by Wednesday's members live stream, I should have those sponge filters installed. All right, this is my last bit of Super Silver Haze, and it is soaked with just some Reclaim hash oil. I got like one little bud of weed left, and then I'm out of weed. It sucks. One of my plants died, and so the next one that I've got in flowering isn't going to be done flowering for like 6 more weeks or something, and I literally have like 2 grams of weed left. I've been going as skimpy as I can. I've been smoking Reclaim. I've been going easy on what little tiny bit of hash oil I've got left. But I think by tomorrow I'm going to have to fucking go. Well, tomorrow I got to go do my big Annapolis day. We're supposed to have like a crazy warm up overnight. It's going to get scalding. It's going to actually reach the freezing point of water tomorrow. So it's going to feel like springtime out there. I'm going to wear a t-shirt and shorts. Well, Heavyweight, that is a good question. I know the industry tries to, get you to cycle it off your shelf every 6 days because they want to sell you more of it. I don't know how to determine when fish food has gone bad. Theoretically, there's going to be like a decomposition of some of the nutrients. Maybe some of the protein chains might break down over time. Like, I don't know, like, minerals might oxidize, or vitamins might, oxidize or something like that and become inert. But as far as like going bad, like I've never opened up old fish food and had it like moldy or smell off or anything like that. It's just dry fish food. It's, so I buy in bulk and it lasts me for long periods of time. Some of the fish foods that I don't go through as frequently, I might get a year out of a big container of it. My pond food, for example, that I feed to the koi, I didn't write a date on this, but I buy 4-pound containers of fish food. And, if it takes me a year to go through it, then it takes me a year to go through it. I've never seen my fish, behave differently or respond differently to the food. They don't turn their nose up at it. I've never seen them, start to get emaciated or something because I'm feeding them old food. So I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to tell when fish food has gone bad, other than the traditional sense of it's moldy or spoiled. Like, you can tell when milk goes bad, you can tell when meat goes bad. So I don't know what to tell you about how long fish food is before it goes bad. I would need a more clear definition of bad before I could determine that. Foot of snow this weekend. We lucked out. We were supposed to get hit by that second one that came through, but it went south of us, and we didn't even, like, I couldn't, if I didn't know it was happening, like, I wouldn't have known anything about it. It was just, sun was shining. It was ass fucking ball, brass monkeys outside. but it's been like that for the last week. So that storm went right on past us and out to the ocean, and we didn't see none of it. 52 months. Good grief, I'm getting old. Yeah, you guys down south must be fucking miserable. You ain't used to snow. I mean, a foot of snow up here is not common, and it snarls things up pretty bad, but we can cope. You know, we do get a foot of snow occasionally. I can't imagine you've ever seen a foot of snow on the ground, um, you know, ever in your life where you live. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, heavyweight. I don't know how to determine that. If you're saying bad as in what we're discussing, like it doesn't have the same vitamin equivalency or the proteins breakdown or whatever. In that case, I don't know how to tell you. I've never analyzed the food before. I've never had it go bad in the traditional sense. I've never opened up some fish food and said, "Oh, geez, I can't use this," and thrown it away. But I've also never had the fish like get sick or not seem like they were colorful and well fed. So I don't know. But I mean, if it doesn't have a year shelf life on it, that seems kind of silly to me. It's just dried food. You can get a year shelf life of fucking beef jerky. I would imagine dried fish food should be even easier. 9 degrees. That's about what it's been here. Speaking of 9 degrees, I'm going to run upstairs real quick. Squeaker went out and did not come back in before my wife went to bed. So now he's outside and he's been out there for, I don't know, an hour or something. And he's well coated. He's a furry cat and he's been outside on plenty of cold nights. But if he does want to come in, I want to be there to let him in because, fur or not, he still has to walk around on his paws and the ground is fucking single digits. That's got to suck for the poor little guy. So I'm going to go check the back door and see if he's waiting. All right, 35 months. Damn. Yeah, but as a Canadian, that's normal for you. You look outside and you think, man, it's January, In Tennessee, that's fucking Armageddon if they got a foot of snow. An inch of snow in Tennessee, or maybe in the mountains and stuff, they might get some snow more frequently. But like you start getting down south. I remember when I lived in Florida, in Jacksonville, it didn't happen the year I lived there, but the year before I moved down there, they got like a dusting. It was like a half an inch of snow or something like that. They were still fucking talking about that the following winter. It shut the city down, like literally shut the city down. Not like businesses closed because of the snow. Everything shut down because nobody could move. There was so many traffic accidents. The rescue vehicles couldn't get through to get to people. There were injuries. The hospitals were full of people with broken arms and collarbones. And, like they don't, you live in Florida, you don't know how to walk on ice. It shut the city down. It was a catastrophe because they got like a half an inch of snow. So it's all based on what you're used to. We do have coyotes and bears, but to my knowledge, we do not have any mountain lions here in Maryland. 34 months. All right, let's move you guys to the next tank, and then I'm going to run outside and see about the cat. I'm also going to take another swig of my psilocybin juice in honor of Steve. I have strawberry watermelon psilocybin juice tonight. All right, put you on this tank. I'm still looking over at the old spot. I guess I've had it there for several years, so it's going to take more than a couple days to get me out of the habit of looking where I used to keep my monitor. All right, there's that. We'll throw some Vibra bites in there. I decided this afternoon I was in here enjoying the fish while I was on the mushrooms. That was the whole goal this morning, is I wanted to just eat mushrooms and look at my new fish for the afternoon. And unfortunately, whenever I'm on mushrooms, for one thing, I wasn't on a lot. It was just enough to make things interesting. And so I wasn't getting overwhelmed by all the movement and activity and all that kind of stuff. But I always struggle with this little twinge of feeling guilty about keeping pets, like even the cats and stuff. But at least the cats can come and go, freely. If they don't want to come home, they can just go live their own lives, if they want. They're not caged. But I feel a little guilty about my fish. I always feel a little guilty about my fish because they're fish and I've got them in this little tiny box of water. And so I don't feel like I'm some magnanimous caregiver that's providing these fish with a habitat. I feel like the dude in the sci-fi horror movie that has the humans in the little cages so he can show them off and display them as his little animals that he keeps out of interest. And so when I'm on mushrooms, that feeling gets amplified like huge. And I just start to feel really bad when I'm in here. I start to feel really guilty. Like, how can I do this to all these poor little fish? And so it's really weird. I get like a really bummed out experience when I'm in here tripping by myself. When I'm doing the live stream, I'm paying too much attention to the technical, aspect of doing the show and everything. I don't think too much about it. But I can get myself pretty bummed out coming in here when I'm on my mushrooms. All right, let me run upstairs real quick. Let me go over these comments real quick. Somebody can slap a stop sign down for me if they want. Yeah, there's probably going to be people in the South that are without power for weeks to come still. I can't imagine how much that ice storm did. 29 down in Florida. Yeah, I agree with that, Steve. Now, I will say, I don't know, Shamu, a couple of days probably. I haven't paid too much attention, but it's still in there. It's still doing okay. I will say the last time I was live streaming, I was talking specifically about the way they were recommending shoveling the snow before it switched over to the icy stuff and get the bulk of the snow out of the way. And I said that's a terrible idea because, then all the icy stuff would be on my driveway. I'd much rather have my snow thrower. I was still right about all of that. The only thing I was wrong about was I said my snow thrower would go through it like it wasn't even there. That was not true. It was like going through wet sand. It was like 6 inches of powdery snow, and you could see when I cut through the line, like you could see the stratification. It looked like a geological survey of eons of sediment being laid down. You could actually track when the snow changed during the storm through all these layers and stratification. So the bottom was all light and dry, like powder dry. But the top was like crusty and thick and icy, and so it was some work getting my snow thrower through it. But it still would have been worse if I'd have gone out there and done it twice the way they had suggested. Unfortunately, I can't do everything with the snow thrower. I got to trim out around the cars and nooks and crannies with a shovel. And again, it was absolutely like shoveling wet sand. I couldn't go in at the bottom and just lift straight up. I had to go in about a third of the way, take the top off. Then I could take the powdery stuff down underneath without breaking my back while I was doing it because it was heavy. So that was a shitty ass storm. I would have definitely preferred it to have been just all light, fluffy snow. If it's fluffy enough, I can use my leaf blower to get the driveway clear. Come on. All right, you can come downstairs and tell us all about it when you're ready. I'm sure at some point he will come down and tell us his exciting stories from being out in the yard. But Squeaker's in, so that's one less thing I have to worry about tonight. Still 90,000 without power. He's in now, Laura. Came sauntering in. He didn't even come in when I opened the damn door. He did the thing he always does, is like he stood there and he looked over his shoulder like he just heard something interesting. As soon as I opened the door, like, oh, were you there? I just was listening to that noise I heard in the other part of the yard. Fucking cats. I don't remember. Did I actually put food in that tank? I guess I could zoom back and find out. I think I put food in there. I vaguely remember that. Starting to get dry mouth again. It's weird. I'm telling you, mushrooms normally make my nose run and my eyes water, and it's just making me all dry. We also forgot to feed the 125. This is going to be a hell of a night. The goldfish would probably eat the cat food. Not sure why we skipped over the 125. I think I was looking at the betta fish and we just went straight to it. I don't remember feeding this tank at all. I hope I didn't feed this already and we're doing it again. I don't feel like I'm tripping that much. I can definitely tell I got some mushrooms rolling through my brains, but I don't think it's rolling that hard. All right. This tank, we start with the color enhancing crisps, and the silver dollars are getting much more used to me feeding them this. They used to scatter as soon as I would come near the tank. Then they were hanging around as it was the algae wafers, and I didn't put my hand over the tank. They would stay cool. But when I would do this and stick my hand in the tank, they would flee. And so now they lay a little bit low, but the instant I'm done, they're just out of their hiding and they come up and tear that shit up. So I'm feeding less algae wafers because obviously the fish are getting more of other type of food. But I started putting the flakes in there, the crisps in there, so that the angelfish could get some. I noticed that the jewel cichlid I have in there didn't seem real keen on the algae wafers. I had the minnows in there at the time, and so I figured, start putting some flake food in there for the other fish. And it turns out the silver dollars, who I thought were like strict vegetarians, absolutely destroy those flakes. Let me try shining the spotlight on the tank, and maybe you'll get a good look at that cichlid with the light shining on it. You see Flo hiding back there. She looks good, doesn't she, with the light shining on her? All right, let's feed some algae wafers. So I still have this much algae wafers from my last batch, so it's still going to be a couple weeks before I actually open that new bag. So again, from the end of July to we'll call it the end of February. With that spotlight on, I throw a shadow in front of the tank like I don't normally do, and it's freaking everybody the fuck out. Let me stand over here. See, as soon as I walk away, they're right back out. Stupid fish. That's a geophagus. I don't know which kind, but it goes by the common name of a pearl cichlid. And his name is Mr. Fabulous. Yeah, Baltimore actually got worse than I did, Cornish. I live a little bit northwest, and we got more snow and less icy, slushy stuff. Steve's down on the other side of Baltimore, and he got a bunch of icy crap too. I didn't feed the 55. I'm pretty sure I did. I remember doing that. Oh, they eat dried krill? Wow. I know they've got the teeth for it. The silver dollars are a type of tetra, and so they're related to piranhas. And like all the tetras, they have piranha teeth. Again, if you ever look at a black skirt tetra, a lemon tetra, or a neon tetra, if you look at their teeth closely enough, if you've got a really good camera and can really zoom in, they are identical to piranha teeth. They're little triangular serrated fucking razors in their mouths. So those silver dollars could tear some shit up. I'd imagine they'd go through the shell on a piece of, freeze dried krill like it wasn't even there. Well, I would imagine San Diego's having a hell of a time with 8 feet, 4 or 5. That's common, but not 8. Yeah, Steve. Steve is the only one of you peoples out there that is fortunate enough to ever have been in here and seen these fish in person. Because no matter how many times I say to you, like, oh, the camera just doesn't do them justice or whatever, you may know that, but like you still don't get to see what the injustice is. Like Steve knows the difference between what they really look like and how they come out on the live stream. And they're far, far more fabulous in person. Yeah, I agree, Laura. Flo definitely tends to stay to her end of the tank. Now, I don't necessarily see any aggression or any real reason why she should stay at the end of her tank. Maybe it's just one of those, like, she just stays out of the way just in case. Like, yeah, it's a big motherfucker. I don't want to, I don't want to get on the wrong side of him because he's bigger than Flo now. I mean, thing's growing like a beast. I have no idea how big it's going to get. It's as big now as I thought it was going to max out. I really thought it was going to be about Flo's size when it was full size, and it's already bigger than that. And I don't even think it's 2 years old yet. I've got its birthday written down somewhere, but I don't remember where now. I think it's up in my office. Yeah, the large silver dollars are cool because of their size and just their impressiveness, but the smaller ones are definitely the showy looker ones. Well, Shamu, you have to fight Squeaker for space because he usually sleeps down here. All right, what else do we have to talk about? I already went over the filters, the sponge filters I've ordered. Obviously, we'll have plenty to talk about when we get to my new fish. So that's actually the exciting part of the show tonight. So let's keep moving. If you've been paying attention recently, thank you, Laura. The small silver dollars with the spots are spotted silver dollars. I know that's a wildly original and creative name. But the small ones are spotted silver dollars, and then the larger ones are just standard paint job silver dollars. No heavyweight. I've seen the bucktooth tetras. They are an absolute nightmare fish. I would never keep something like that. Now, if you could keep them and then they didn't need live food, like you could just feed them flake food or something, that'd be all right. But I definitely would not keep them and then feed them live feeder fish. I've actually seen what they do to feeder fish before. It was gruesome. I do get that experience a few times, Steve. Like when I'm on mushrooms, I'll come in here and I'll just be like, holy shit, like I got to tell somebody about this. Like, do people know that this is here? This is fucking amazing. I feel like I've stumbled upon some like, jewel. And of course, it's just my own fish room. I built this thing. Oh, are you here telling us your stories? You want to tell us all about it? Yeah. That doesn't seem like that was very exciting. No, I'm not coming down there to pet you. Look, he's laying a trap. You know what he's trying to do, don't you? He thinks I can't resist the adorableness and I'm going to have to bend down there and pet him. But he's wrong. We're going to move on. Being manipulated by no damn cat. God damn, where's my monitor? There it is. A year from now, I'm going to be asking where the hell I got my monitor set up. Of course, the problem with the table, too, that I'm now just realizing that I hadn't thought through is I got all my coffee mugs and food and all kinds of shit sitting on the table, and I can't see the monitor because all the stuff I got piled in front of it. All right. We're going to feed these guys some Vibra Bites because that's what they like. Now, if you're new around here, in the back of this cave down here, I do have a red tail loach. It's about 7 inches. It's pretty big, but it's also pretty reclusive. You'll probably get glimpses of its tail and stuff like that. Flashes of it swimming around back there. But if you pay attention and you get lucky, you may see it actually come out and swim around briefly and then dart back into its hiding spot. It happens from time to time. I did not get a flower horn. What are you talking about, Laura? Never noticed what before? Oh, I didn't even see that question there. That is my jewel cichlid. I have a jewel cichlid in my 125 that everybody always forgets about. And it's really fucking big for a jewel cichlid. And so when people see it, they don't realize it's a jewel cichlid. But that big red cichlidy looking fish is actually a jewel cichlid in my 125. Dade asked if I like angelfish or discus behavior better. And that's a tough question. That's like asking who your favorite kid is. Honestly, their behavior in the tank is really similar. The discus seem to group together better than I've had experience with angelfish. So if you want a larger group of fish, maybe go with the discus instead of the angels. But otherwise, their behavior is very similar. The way they just sort of move around the tank, they not, they move with purpose, but they're not panicked. They drift around sometimes. They swim where they want to go. They poke around. They root through the vegetation looking for food. Again, really interesting behavior, but trying to tease apart the differences between discus doing that versus angelfish, I don't really see a whole lot of difference in the behavior, honestly. Let's see. Yeah, he's definitely a drooler. And he definitely wanted a belly rub. And he does love Steve. Every time Steve comes over, he comes running right up to him and talking to him. Well, they're actually worse than piranha. Piranha will eat small fish. They are predatory, but they're mostly scavengers. They eat dead stuff and whatever. They've just got the teeth for tearing the flesh off. The odontons, or whatever they're called, the bucktooth tetras, they don't. It would be bad enough if they were literally just devouring fish alive, but they're not. They're stripping all their scales off of them because they're eating their scales, and then they're just leaving them stripped bare with, be like you having your skin ripped off your body and saying, okay, have a nice day. You're going to die, because of infection, and you don't have any protection from the elements and everything. So that it just makes it so much more gruesome to me, the way they just strip all their flesh off basically, and then just that's all they do to them, and then they just leave them to die this horrible death. Gruesome fish. They're like a fucking horror movie, it all enrolled into one. Oh, he definitely comes out and greets people at the car. And about they can be aggressive, but they're definitely on the lower end of the aggression scale when it comes to cichlids. They're more territorial in the sense of like pecking order. or if they pair off and are spawning, then clearly, any cichlids going to sort of, keep anything away from where they're spawning. But they don't mark out little spots in the tank that are my spot, and then they chase other fish away from it, like this is their cave or anything like that. They swim around the tank, they swim together, they swim in groups. You'll see them fussing and arguing amongst themselves and that sort of thing, but it's not real aggression. He was going to end up with a cat. Maybe. The moss in this tank is out of control. And speaking of which, I do need to get in there. I don't know if you can hear the gurgling and the bubbles and whatnot. I came in and shook all the bubbles out of the filter earlier, but I did not do what needed to be done. The reason there's bubbles in the filter in the first place is because the filter intake gets clogged up with that Java moss so quickly. Little bits and pieces of it get broken off by the fish all the time, and then they drift around until they get caught on the filter intake, and before you know it, no water is going through the filter intake. So we'll get that out of there. We got a trash can right here just for that, because this happens every couple of days. All right. And now just gotta shake the remaining bubbles out of the filter. All right, that's good enough for that tank. We're not going to look at the 29 because the 29 looks like a fucking disaster right now. I spilled my coffee on the lid, and coffee got in the tank, and that made the tank look fugly enough, but we did a pretty big water change and cleared that up. But unfortunately, it burned out half of my lights. And then the lighted side is right over all of these plants and everything. And so the whole tank is so dimly lit now that it's hard for me to even look at. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this. It's set like this tank is like a time capsule. I set this thing up. This was my first big tank. It was the first tank I bought when I realized I could have more than one tank. And it's pretty much sat there like that ever since. Watch out. Come on, watch out. You're not watching out. Come on. All right. Takes a little bit of encouragement sometimes, but he gets the point eventually. Want to do a water change on this tank too. We need to really clean the glass down. If you look closely, and you don't even have to look very closely, look at the hair algae in there growing off the side of that glass. So I got to get some snails or a rubber lip or something in here. I think I'm going to put some nearite snails in to deal with the algae. The glass getting wiped down, I can do that easy enough. We got some nice, beautiful colors of the rainbow on the surface of the water. So I have very, very little water flow, and it gets diffused immediately into all those plants down there. And so we don't have any kind of surface agitation, which is what the fish like. I've got this tank set up like that because it's got the betta fish in there. But it tends to make it look a little biofilmy on the surface as a result. I don't know if you noticed or not, but I strategically avoided the mystery tank, keeping you guys in suspense tonight, and it'll be worth it. It is the coolest fish I've ever owned. And I guess Zini's not going to be joining us tonight, so I can tell you what the fish's name is. I don't know if it'll give you a hint as to what kind of fish it is. I have 4 cats. So I've named my new fish the Great Wizard Queequeg. If any of you know what that means, good for you. If not, you can wonder. I got it from a Doctor Who episode. And I always thought it was hilarious. And so that's just what this fish got named the other night. You can tell I was on mushrooms when I named it. Speaking of mushrooms, I'm still working my way through this 8th. All right, now I had a tablet somewhere. There it is. All right. Yeah, angelfish can be hit or miss. You can have angelfish that are placid as can be for 3 years, and then all of a sudden you come down and they're terror machines. Uncle Joe's, how are you doing this evening? Yeah, this tank's getting overgrown with the hair algae. Yeah, 4 cats is our limit. We won't go any more than 4. Not because of it would make us crazy cat people, but because it's just not manageable. We got to feed them and take them to the vets and all that kind of stuff. And at some point, it becomes compulsive, and like you do become the crazy cat person. So 4 is our limit. Right now, 2 of mine don't even let me get fucking near them. Well, little Omen lets me kind of touch him a little bit. I don't know what Squeaker's got. Oh, Squeaker is attacking the cord. No, of course he stopped now that I'm going to point the camera at him. Well, you can't really see it, but you can kind of tell there's the container that has the filter in it. There's some electrical cords in there, and Squeaker could see the electrical cord through the plastic and was like pawing at it and attacking it like he was trying to get it, but obviously couldn't because it was on the other side of the plastic. All right, a few more minutes on this. We'll get the discus fed, and then we will unveil the great wizard Queequeg. Greg. Freshwater moray. No, but we me and Zini were actually talking about freshwater eels, and a moray came up. We have 3 litter boxes, and we have 1 cat that shits all over the house. And then, of course, most of the cats, when the weather's nicer, they go outside most of the time. So the litter box situation is manageable. The worst part about the litter boxes is they are all over on the other side of the basement where my lab and my den, where I always hang out and do all my mushrooming and smoking my weed and all that. I'm literally sitting like feet away from cat boxes. So it's always nice when a cat comes down in the middle of the night, not paying attention, drops a bomb on me. I'm sitting there, watching a Doctor Who or something. All of a sudden, my fucking eyes start watering. Fortunately, I keep Ozium over there, which is the world's greatest air freshener, and it just wipes out the smell of a fresh cat box immediately. Here, come look at this real quick. See if I can get over here without scaring it away. Of course, the shark just scared it away. God damn it. I wonder, I hadn't even noticed that. I wonder if the shark harasses the jewel cichlid because of the red coloration on it. But that's my jewel cichlid back there. And it's not reclusive, but it tends to lay low. And I'm guessing it might be because of the damn shark right there. Oh, there's a better look at its side. So I'm guessing that's the fish you were all talking about earlier that you don't see very often because it doesn't really make much of an appearance. The reason I brought the camera over, it was just chilling with all the other fish like it was part of the school. And as soon as I walked over, the shark saw it, and the shark came up and chased it away. And so I'm guessing it's that red coloration on the cichlid that makes the shark go after it like that. But I mean, you can see it compared to that angelfish, and that's not a small angelfish. So by jewel cichlid standards, I think that thing's fucking enormous. It's the only one I've ever owned, so maybe they all get that big. I don't know, but that's just a lot bigger than I thought it was going to get. I thought a jewel cichlid was something that you could maybe get away with keeping in a 20, 20 long or something. There's no way I'd try to keep that fish in a 20 long. All right, if you will notice, my orange discus in this tank has turned more blue. than orange. So it now looks like a blue discus with an orange background, whereas it used to look like an orange discus with like bluish type fins. And of course, like all fish, it's going to stare straight at the camera while I'm trying to video it instead of letting me see what its side looks like. But look how fucking blue that thing has turned. It's crazy looking. So Zini nailed that one. He said it would go in this tank perfectly, and of course it does. I've got those bright orange fish in there, and then all the blue discus, and that's got a little bit of both on it. And the blue is turning out to be more prominent than the orange, which again just really surprises me. Now, fish changing color is not that uncommon. I mean, you can see that happen over the course of minutes. Fish will become aggressive, or another fish will start picking on it, and you'll see its color darken or lighten. You come down in the morning. You ever look at a neon tetra first thing in the morning when you turn the lights on? They're almost clear. Their blue color doesn't actually start showing up for several minutes after the lights come on. So fish changing color like that, it's not really anything I'm unfamiliar with, but I just wasn't expecting this one to sort of shift from the, orange color to the blue like that. Look, this is where Squeaker always lays so that he stays out of my way, but he gets to be down here and hang out with me. You see his little head sticking out from underneath the rack down there. You gonna say hi to everybody? You see you down there. That way he doesn't get stepped on or shoved out of the way or whatever, but he gets to be part of the action. All right, fishies, I'm working on it. Calm down. Every minute that passes, I feel more mushroomy. I'm actually going to try to get out of here on time tonight. Might even wrap it up a little bit early. I got to do my Annapolis day tomorrow, and it's going to suck. I mean, if somebody had to go and work on a construction site all day, that would suck far more than anything I'm going to have to do. But based on what I typically have to do, tomorrow's going to suck because I'm going to have to walk in all that icy frozen snow and shit all around people's yards, all their bushes that still have snow and ice on them. I'm going to have to knock all the snow and ice off everything before I can spray it. And I wouldn't bother with it, except this is January's spraying. I just couldn't get it done last week. So I'm going to date everybody's bill for January 31st and, call it good. So whatever I'm able to spray tomorrow is getting sprayed, and we're calling it good. I'm not going to fuck with it anymore. God, I can't wait till spring. We're not even at Groundhog's Day yet. Close, but not there yet. On the other hand, it does seem like just the other day I was saying to my wife about how, January sucks and it's this really long month and blah, blah, blah. And we're already through January. It's gone. So that's like the worst month of the year. February is a short month. By the end of February, we might start seeing some snowdrops or maybe some early daffodils starting to pop up. Who knows? I can do it. I can survive till spring. Another thing I was saying to the missus last night, because she's going stir crazy like over the weekend, like can't go outside. I mean, even going up to the grocery store, you got to get all bundled up and everything just to go out and get the fucking mail. Can you imagine living like in the Little House on the Prairie days where it was like a single room that was like 20 feet by 20 feet and your entire fucking family lived in there and you had like 5 feet of snow packed around the house for 4 months out of the year? There would be blood on the wall. Like how anybody survived those winters, I do not know. I would go start staring fucking mad by mid-December if I was living in those kind of conditions. All right, let me get caught up on some comments. I forgot I should be doing that once in a while. Just over here speaking my thoughts. All right, let's see. When did I put a red shark in the 125? 5 years ago. No hints really on the new fish other than I had to put the lid back on. So it has to have a very tightly closed lid to house this fish. And I talked a lot about it for, the last week or so, and I dismissed it as a fish that I wasn't going to be able to get. But I changed my mind and I got it. I wouldn't say he's being bullied, but you can definitely tell he's the new fish in the tank. It's interesting. I thought he would become the bullied one, and then that little dark colored one that always hides in the corner. I figured he'd like get reprieved, but no, they still fucking pick on that little guy all the time. So the new one gets kind of a break, but the one that's just always picked on is still just in there being picked on constantly. Well, I think Flo is a little more apprehensive about coming out so much. I mean, she's sitting out now. I was going to grab the camera, but I don't have it next to me. Flo is fairly outgoing. I meant to bring in my, of course, now, never mind. She actually just ran back into her corner to chase away a silver dollar, but she was sitting right out in the front of the tank, bold as brass there a second ago. Let me get my Mevo app turned on with my phone so we can do I'm going to connect to the camera. All right, now I'll be able to zoom you guys in on stuff. So here we go, everybody. The big reveal. You're about to meet the great wizard, Quad. Let me find it first so we don't have to grope around the tank looking for it. Oh, there he is. She, I should say. Pretty sure that's a she. Can you see her down there? I'm holding the camera in my hand, so I can't zoom in with the app. But I think you can see her lying down there. There she is. Going to move a little bit. And so I'll give you a quick look. This tank I just kind of threw together, made some caves, threw some plants in it. Nothing special. Put a piece of woodwork in there. She really likes that piece of wood. It's hollow underneath, and she hides underneath of it like she lives there. I threw a bunch of shrimp in the tank, so there's shrimp crawling everywhere. They've been in there since yesterday, and I still counted over 2 dozen this morning. So when I came down this morning, she had a big fat belly on her. I know she had a good hunting overnight. So I also put some cichlid pellets in there, and I watched her eat the cichlid pellets. So she's already eating prepared food and actively hunting shrimp. So I'm feel confident that she's going to do well. She seems happy enough in this tank. Here, let me pull my stool out of the way, and I'll get you guys situated with the better view, and then we can zoom in with the Mevo. So that is a Senegal Bashir, or I just call it a Polypterus because it's easier than Bashir, Biker, et cetera, et cetera. Yay, and I got it. It was a Bashir indeed. I did a lot of research into these fish before. First thing let me do is turn this light off. I can't turn this all the lights off on this side of the tank because her light will go off. But I can turn off the man, what a difference that makes. So when I was looking into it, the pronunciation was basically, you can say biker, Bashir, or Bashir. Any one of those is acceptable, but technically biker is the more correct way of saying it. But if you say Bashir, nobody's going to complain about it. But it's biker. It's more like biker, not biker like a motorcyclist, but it's biker. All right, let's see where she is. I think she's right there. And that's as zoomed in as I can get you, I think. Nope, that's as zoomed in as I can get you. She is so cool. I actually built a shrimp trap. So let's come have a look at the shrimp trap. And if it's got a bunch of shrimp in it, we'll dump them into the tank and see if she doesn't start hunting. There's already, again, at least a couple dozen shrimp in the tank. But hell, if we throw 25 in at once, that might do something. All right, let's move my little table out of the way. Oops, sorry, that just banged into the fish tank. All right, so here's my little shrimp trap. And it looks like there's a bunch of shrimp. Oh, yeah, a bunch of them just shot down inside of it to get away from me and hide. So it's also going to probably provide us with a lot of snails. I don't need any more for her tank, but I could certainly throw them in the betta fish tank. All right, let's come over here where we can actually look at this because I got two hands. Or I should say I need two hands. Of course, I have two hands. All right, so the way I made this was I just took a funnel and I just cut a piece of bungee elastic and made a loop. So it's got a hinge on one side, and then we got another little loop on this side so it latches it shut, and then you can just sort of flip the funnel out. So I don't know how many shrimp are in there, but it's a shit ton of them. They're all tiny little babies. I didn't see any larger ones. But I've also made 3 hauls out of that tank in the last 2 days. So I don't know how many little shrimp I still have left in it. I'm going to get you back on this camera stand if it kills me. Come on. God damn it. What the hell? All right. No wonder they pay professional cameramen so much. All right. Let's just go ahead and pour this in and we'll see what happens. Bunch of fish food, but a whole lot of snails. I mean, a whole lot of shrimp. I got a whole lot of snails here. All right, these can all go in the betta tank. And I don't think I need to put the shrimp trap back in the tank. I'll throw it in this tank just to keep the snails that are in there alive. I'll fuck with it later. I don't feel like taking it apart and cleaning it right now. All right, let me go look at the camera and get you zoomed in here, and we'll see if she doesn't do any hunting. And I'm saying she because Zini said that he thinks it's a female based on her anal fin. But I honestly haven't had that much of a close look at it yet. So I don't know, but I think it is a female. I think that what Zini was saying was right. But it is just the coolest fish ever. All right, let me see. Well, if it grows too big for the 40, it's probably going to have to go back to the fish store because I really don't have 125 to keep it in. It needs a tightly closed tank. Let me make sure pay attention to the camera because she's moving around now. I got to make sure I don't lose her. I think she's hunting. I'm not really paying attention because I'm trying to read and do the. Oh yeah, she's definitely in there hunting those shrimp. Look at her go. I have yet to see her actually catch one. She's fast as shit, but the shrimp always seem to dart away right before she grabs them. But obviously she gets some of them or she'd starve to death in the wild. Oh, thank you, Rosie. Yeah, I saw that, Anna. You definitely won. Oh, right. So I was wondering why it got hidden. I didn't think that was a bad word or something. Well, Brandon didn't guess. I forgot I told him. So Steve knew in advance. Brandon knew in advance. And Zini knew in advance. I've been talking to Zini about it the whole time. I've sent him video and shit because he's got one. He's had one for years, so he's stoked. We're now polypterous buddies. That is what I made into my tea last for the evening. That's what. I forgot we got you zoomed in. Let me figure out where you are. So that was my mushroom dinner for tonight. I'm actually still working on it. I got a little bit left to go, but that's not what I wanted to show you. I made a meme of the great wizard Queequeg. There's Squeaker telling me, "You shall not pass." All right, somewhere in here I've got a damn. There's Squeaker enjoying my new fish for the very first time. Somewhere in here I made a damn. Oh, I've been taking some cool pictures of shrimp too. I spent a while in here, like I said, on mushrooms earlier with my camera. Somewhere in here is a damn meme of the great wizard Queequeg. Oh, you know what? I'm looking in the wrong spot. I'm looking in my photos. I need to look in my gallery. No wonder I couldn't find it. There it is. All right, let's see. Can you see that? The great wizard Queequeg. Actually, Rosie, no. I do love him. He does pal around with me in that kind of way, but I don't really feel like he's my pal that's palling around with me in that kind of way because he's always yelling and yammering and squeaking and getting on my nerves. And I'm usually telling him to shut up and go tell mommy and that sort of thing. So I do love him to death, but it's definitely not like the my little buddy palling around kind of relationship. All right. I forgot I'm your cameraman. I forgot I got you all zoomed in on nothing at this point. So let me find the fish again. Actually, let's just go ahead and zoom out until we can find him. Got to be in there somewhere. Oh, I see it. So that's the log it spends a lot of its time under. It's hollow on the inside, so it's roomier than it looks. Star Wars princess. That works for me. Yeah, I was thinking that, Shamu. If I was a kid and I saw something like this swimming around at my local, stream growing up or whatever, I would think it was some weird fucking salamander or something like that before I would think that was a fish. And they actually are obligate air breathers. That means they need to breathe air. You can't, keep them in a tank where they don't have access to uh, surface air. They have to breathe it. But they can also get out of water. They could live on land indefinitely as long as they stay moist enough and warm enough. They literally could just live on land. They use their little pectoral fins to kind of walk around, almost like the way mudskippers do. Really, really interesting little fish. It's not exactly mom. I've been experimenting with different foods and stuff to try to see what it would eat. And so there's a lot of pellets that didn't get eaten and things that have just broken down into those little piles. And then, of course, the algae wafers that I was using for bait in the shrimp tanks or the shrimp traps, excuse me, would get dumped in there too. And so there's a lot of that kind of stuff. Originally, from when this tank was was old, and I did all that work and cleaned it up and everything. You guys saw me do that on camera, but the water was real cloudy at the end of the night. And so by the next day, it had all settled and everything in the tank was just covered in this fine layer of dust, the way it looked. And if you look over here and you see all that stuff, that is like the dusty moam stuff that was left over from the first tank. And I do need to get in and do like one more vacuuming and just kind of get all that stuff out of there because it just looks unsightly. One of the problems with having a tank that's got a sandy bottom, no pun intended, is the detritus and mulm and whatnot has nowhere to go. It doesn't break down into the sand in the same way it does with a gravel tank, where you've got these sort of interstitial spaces between the larger pieces of gravel. And it allows for all the stuff to go, broken down and decompose and get down in there. And there's lots of, microbial life, and it's oxygenated. Sand, it just creates a flat floor and shit just sits on it. And so I'm not a big fan of sand, but it is not a requirement necessarily, but it's suggested to have a sandy bottom for these fish. And so I figure, well, I don't really like sand, but I've got it, and that works for the kind of fish I want. And so we just went ahead and left it sand. I was actually going to pull a lot of that sand out and redo it, but decided it just makes more sense to leave it alone for the kind of fish I actually put in there. All right, everybody, it's my final swig. That makes an eighth of mushrooms. Well, I showed you guys that picture. There's 4 big mushrooms. That was my dinner. Well, not my dinner, really, my dessert. My dinner, I did get a little carried away with dinner. I added an extra half a scoop of my food replacement powder. So I did 4.5 scoops tonight instead of 4 scoops because I was feeling a little hungry, a little peckish. And that extra half scoop really did it for me. All right, loaves. I'm actually going to be getting out of here shortly myself. I like the way sand looks, which is why I got it originally when I got the Eco Complete early on. There you can get a sand version of it, or you can get a more granular bimodal version. It's a mixture of sand and larger pieces, and of course the larger pieces rise to the surface, and so you don't see how sandy it looks. But even regular, let's see, where are we? I think we're over here. Can we actually see him? Because I think he just took a shot at a shrimp. I don't know if he actually got it or not. What are you doing, Squeaker? Squeaker's down there trying to get attention too. So I'm going to sit down and pay more attention to the camera here. So now that it's out and about moving around, we can kind of keep track of it rather than you guys staring at an empty screen every time it moves. Go on, get. Psst, get. I can also aim the camera. I can't lower the camera anymore. Did I already say that? All right. And now, for some reason, I'm not able to move it. There we go. Get back here. It's harder than it looks trying to. It's if I look at the tank, then it's hard to follow the phone. If I look at the phone, I keep losing the fish, and of course the camera is not got the. I got to keep moving the camera too, and then readjusting the phone. So this is getting way more complicated than I thought it was going to be. Now I can throw another thing into the mix and look at the monitor. Oh, did he just catch a shrimp? Did I miss it? I have seen it rooting around on the bottom, like rooting down through the sand, and it came up chewing on something. It spit a bunch of sand out and then swallowed something. So it found something good to eat down in the sand. Again, for as long as I've had the substrate in this tank, it's probably got a pretty active, uh, culture living in it. So they probably can find natural food sources down there. Oh, it just darted up to the surface and got some air. And believe me, when it wants to swim fast, it's fucking fast. Probably not like rubber lip pleco fast. They move across the surface of a rock or whatever like lightning. But that's a pretty fast fish when it wants to dash. Perhaps it's the wizardly powers. She is a powerful wizard, remember? So this tank is the other tank that will get the sponge filter. And right now, if we look in the back, I don't want to move the camera because it looks like she's about to do something interesting. But if you look in the back, you'll see I've got one of those little corner sponges, and it looks just old and tattered, and it's just time to replace it. So I thought I would get something a little swankier, and I got one of those little um, two-armed jobs. I talked about it earlier, but for anybody that wasn't here when I was talking about it, it's one where the suction cup is sticks to the glass in the back, and it's got like the T arms on the bottom. It looks like an anchor, basically upside down. Get it. Oh, missed again. Oh, missed again. I'm telling you, I don't think I've seen that fish actually catch a damn. Oh, wow. Watching the fish in my monitor and trying to keep track of it with the camera is even more challenging. Why do I keep doing this stuff to myself? Oh, man, it looks like that shrimp's coming up behind it. You better look out. You're going to get ambushed. Come on, camera. Move, god damn it. Did we miss it? I don't even know where the fish went. Oh, it went this way off camera. Well, I don't think anybody's going to be paying me to make a nature documentary anytime soon. But what do you want for free? I will actually, the only time I really take my sponge filters out is if I notice the output is starting to get reduced and I just notice that it's getting clogged up or whatever and the water's not flowing through it freely. So, like all things in my life, there is no real, I do this every Saturday or I do it the first Monday of every month or, I do it when it feels like it needs it. I would say once a month for a 20 seems a bit excessive, but I'm also, not like a neat freak kind of person either. Oh, come on, you goddamn fish. I only got so much camera range here. But as long as the water's flowing through it and you're getting, good filtration, just leave it alone. Why bother with it if it doesn't need it? It is really small. It's a little bit longer than my index finger, and it's a little bit thinner at the meaty part of its belly. So, like, take my index finger and like roll it out a little bit, maybe another inch, and that would be the size of it. Yeah, my cameraman is definitely struggling. Yeah, that is the only filtration I've got in the tank. In fact, that's the only circulation I have in the tank. I don't have a power head or additional air stone or anything. It's just that sponge filter in the corner is the only thing that this tank is running on. So this, I consider this to be a filterless tank, but I mean, other people probably wouldn't. I don't see it as having a mechanical filter on it. It just does have a biological filter. So you can say it's filterless or not. Doesn't matter to me. It's all academic. It is what it is. But it is a super interesting fish. For that comment, I think it was Rosie that said something about, yeah, entertaining. Um, I find that even when it's just sitting there not doing anything, as long as I've got a good view of it, I still find it fascinating. But I'm also aware of the fact of the novelty. This is a new fish. It's a really unique fish. I'll grant you, if I got a school of lemon tetras, I've always wanted them, and I may look at them for a little while, more so than normal because they're new fish. But there's nothing outstanding about them other than like, wow, that's a different kind of tetra. This is just doesn't even look like a fish. This is like nothing I've ever had before, and it's really, really interesting. So even when it's just not doing anything, I'm still fascinated by it. Over time, it'll become more normalized, and it'll just be my polypterus. So if I walk in and it's just sitting there, then all right, it's just sitting there. Still a cool looking fish, but not necessarily entertaining. When it does go out and about and start moving around, which is fairly frequent, it seems that they say it's a nocturnal grazer and feeder and all that sort of thing. It roots around in the substrate at night, but it seems to be pretty damn active during the day too. I've come in again. There's been times where it's just been sitting there for several minutes. I just get bored and leave. Um, but then I come in 15 minutes later, and the thing's like poking in corners and moving around, checking out underneath the rocks, and it's clearly hunting for shrimp. So, absolutely enjoyed every moment of this fish. I've had it so far. Um, and for it being an oddball like this, it's not like a challenging fish. You've got to have the right tank size, and it's the footprint is more important than the gallons. If you have a really tall, thin tank like my 60 here, that would probably be okay because it's a long footprint. But a 36 by 18 is like the smallest reasonable footprint that one of these full grown could live in. I've read everything from 7 inches all the way up to 28. The general consensus seems to be that in the aquarium it's going to get about hot dog size, and if it's hot dog size, then it can live in a 40. That'll be fine. I was so enamored with it when I got it, I almost went back because I thought the PetSmart only had the one. And when I went back, I waited 2 days and thought about it. I didn't buy it on the impulse on Wednesday when I was with Steve, but I went back on Friday and bought it. And I was hoping it was still there. And when I got in there, I looked in the tank, and it was a fucking tank full of them. So apparently, it's a fish that they stock regularly. And he said that they just got a shipment in that morning, and so there was a bunch of them in the tank. And I brought the coolest looking, the largest one, the most color, the most active. Turned out to be that one. Seriously considered going back and buying 3 or 4 more because a group of them would be awesome. But I thought about it, and I came to the decision that the the factor I weighed most heavily in deciding whether or not to get this fish was the size of my tank. And I determined ultimately that we may not be able to, have it fully outgrow in this tank, but we probably will. And so if I'm already kind of on the fence about whether this one is going to outgrow the tank, a group of 4 would absolutely be too, and then so I had to let that excitement be excitement, and I couldn't just go buy more of them because it's so cool. One of them's awesome. Imagine how awesome 4 of them would be. And so hopefully by only having the one in there, we'll be able to enjoy this fish for many, many years to come. They live up to um, 15 on average. They can live up to 20. And so I'm stoked. And so, other than the size of your tank, the only other real concern with these fish is they have to have access to surface air, which really isn't that big of a problem on pretty much any tank, even a tank with a hood on it. Um, and it's got to be a tightly hooded tank. They're serious jumpers. If there's a tiny little hole they can wriggle through, they will get through it. So you've got to keep the tank tightly covered. Other than that, they can live in a wide variety of water. It's recommended to have a sandy bottom, but like if you have smooth pebbles or something, that's not going to bother them. As long as you don't have a really coarse, sharp, jagged surface on your bottom, and I don't know how many fish tanks have jagged, broken glass style surfaces. But they do spend a lot of time literally just laying on the substrate, and so you've got to have a smoother substrate for them to lay on. But the pH range is like 5.5 to 8.5. Standard, 75 to 80 degree water temperature, water hardness from 5 to 15 degrees. It's a hardy fish that can live in most water conditions. Out again with the tank set up, they live in like boggy, still, calm water. So think betta fish kind of environment. You don't want a lot of water flow, a lot of movement. You got to give them plenty of places to hide, good vegetation to root through. But conditions wise, they're not a challenging fish to keep. You don't have to have really specialized water parameters or do anything special to your water or anything. So I'm going to say I recommend it. And Zini's has like no coloration at all. It's just sort of this tan color homogeneously from one end to the other. Mine's got that really distinct lower jaw or like the white line along the lips. And it's got some dark markings in front of the eyes. And so it gives its head a really distinct look. Again, being a great wizard, I can assume that it got to choose its look. Nice eel. I could easily see somebody thinking that's a kind of eel. Again, that's why me and Zini were having the whole conversation about the freshwater eels. Even the way it moves, the way it uses its front fins, they either look like little stumpy legs, or when it flays them out, it looks like little paddles. They're almost like little scoops. And it just helicopters around the water. And it does the same thing sharks do, where it's like it lives in a 360-degree world. Most fish have an up and a down. This does not. It goes upside down. It drifts along with its tail up in the air and its head straight down, or its head straight up and its tail straight down. It does not give a shit about gravity. It just does. It lives in a three-dimensional world, which is I would do too if I was a fish. I think it's awesome. That's one of the things I like about sharks is they look like they live in a three-dimensional world, whereas most fish swim around in there's very clearly an upright position, and they go backwards and forwards and up and down. Sharks live in a 360 world, and so this one does too. I really think that's awesome. Yeah, ropefish is another one this could easily be confused for. In fact, when I was reading about it, it often lumped ropefish into the same category, or same family, where I always get family, genus, and all that shit mixed up. But it often spoke about keeping these type of fish, including ropefish. So I'm fucking stoked. I think it's the most awesomest fish ever. But I am going to start winding it down. Everybody got to see a good look at it. Didn't even have to sit in front of the camera and annoy anybody tonight. But I am going to, if I can figure out how to work this fucking camera. I got some weird yellow marking on the thing that it's like, now there's another one. What the fuck are these yellow marks for? When I tap on it, they don't go away. It just moves the camera. Nope, that doesn't work. Nope, that just moves the camera again. I don't know what these marks are. I don't know where my fish went. Oh, there it is. Here, see if I can get this on camera. So you can see where I've got it zoomed in. Oh, wow, I shouldn't have done that. Like, that's fucking crazy. Whoa. Anyway, you can see where I got the little zoomed in box. What the fuck is that yellow circle? And how do I get that yellow circle to go away? It was 3 of them. Now it's only 1. So 2 of them seem to have gone away by themselves. And the fish is gone. Where the hell did the fish go? Oh, I see it. Take that, yellow circle. I completely ignored you. Yeah, I enjoy watching it too. Again, I feel like I've fallen back in love with fish keeping between the goldfish and this huge display tank, and now that thing. I spent more time today just sitting in here looking at my fish. That was the purpose of me, drinking the mushroom tea this morning. Once I established that we weren't going anywhere, we didn't have any errands to run or anything. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to spend the day looking at my new fish. And so I drank some tea and just spent again, not 100% of the time, but I spent quite a lot of time down here just sitting on the stool. Oh, did you see it open its mouth a little bit? You got to see that little yawn. I was wondering how big the mouth was going to be when I got it. It always describes your tank like they're very docile, but anything that can fit in its mouth, like you can't keep it because it will eat it. And I was like, okay, well, is it one of those fish? Like my striped Raphael's a pretty fucking big catfish, but respectively, its mouth is pretty small. Some catfish, the whole front end opens up like a cargo freighter. And so I was interested to see what was going to be with this one. And the whole front end of this fish opens up. So it definitely keep that in mind. And again, when it's full grown and it's the size of a fucking, jumbo hot dog and the whole front end opens up, I would think anything guppy size, neons would easily be on the menu. So, all right, everybody, we got about 5 minutes left. So get your last comments in. Any final questions, thoughts, etc. Of course, all my members. All right, God damn it, where did the fish go again this time? Every time I turn around, he's gone again. Never work with children or animals. All right, I don't even see it right now. It's high. Oh, I think I see some movement down this end. Hang on. Yeah, I've already thought about that arc. I did make sure that it ate. I put some sinking cichlid pellets in there this morning, and I watched it gobble one up. It was a little too big for it. Kept spitting it back out, but it kept picking it back up. And eventually, I guess as it softened up in the water, it did get it down. So I know it will eat prepared food, and so I don't have to rely on the shrimp. But having shrimp in the tank is a good way of providing it with enrichment. It can hunt, and it's not just going to lay around and wait for feeding time like a lot of fish do. So I think it's good for the fish. And then, of course, it makes the tank look more interesting. I honestly, as I described earlier, it spends a lot of time just laying on the bottom, not doing a lot. I spent far more time watching the shrimp in this tank and the snails. Again, remember, I was on mushrooms, so I was fascinated by the snails. The way the shrimp would interact with the snails every time. There's one shrimp just kept grabbing snails that would walk by or do whatever snails do, undulate by. And it would manhandle it, like it was checking it out. And I guess maybe looking for algae to clean off its shell. And then it would just shove them over and then go find another snail. So I spent a while watching that. So a lot of stuff going on in the tank, and the shrimp are amazing. And it's, so I've already thought about the whole, don't wipe your shrimp population out aspect of it. And I now have 3 tanks that are dedicated to breeding shrimp. I mean, one is more of a show tank, so it looks pretty, but the whole purpose of it is just for those shrimp to just make more shrimp for me. So I definitely am going to keep that in mind. But I do love having the shrimp in the tank. I think it makes it look awesome, and it gives the fish something to do, keeps it from getting depressed. All right, Hamilton, thanks for hanging out. Hey, Tatum. This tank has the fish you're looking at, the Polypterus, and shrimp, and that's it. And then I've got a whole entire fish room that you'll see in just a minute because I'm getting ready to wrap the show up here. Their diet in nature is small fish, worms, small crustaceans, anything basically that they can fit in their mouth. But they are predatory; they're not scavengers. And that's why it says, you know, when they're kept in tanks, they readily accept prepared foods. You just got to get sinking food. Zini's actually feeds off the surface. He puts flakes in, it swims up to the surface and feeds off the flakes. So I don't know about that. They seem to eat just about any damn thing. But I have the shrimp in the tank for it to hunt because that would be a natural food source for it. And then I'm going to get some small sinking cichlid pellets, and I'll just feed it the cichlid pellets as its normal food source. But it's just the coolest fucking fish ever, watching it swim around the tank doing its thing. It is so neat. Hey, Eugene. You're quite welcome. Hey, I'm sorry, Tatum. I said the fish you're looking at. That is a Polypterus or a Bashir. But we are going to wrap the show up. So we're going to actually, let me unzoom the camera before I start walking around the room with it. But I'll give you a quick look around the room as we set my camera up to say goodnight. So we got the tank you're just looking at. It's a 40 breeder. I got a 29 right there with an angelfish and some tetras. 55 that's got some pearl gouramis, discus, angelfish, tetras, miscellaneous catfish, loaches, etc. I got another 55 that's got a bunch of tetras and a discus in it. And then I've got a 40 down here with an angelfish and a bunch of random stuff. I've got a betta fish in there now. That's a new fish for me. Got the 125 that we are going to turn back on. That's full of silver dollars, and I got a couple of. No, god damn it! Hang on, let me sit you down here. It's got a little knob that clicks on the thing, and every time I touch it, it falls off. So I'm just going to leave the little knob alone. You got to turn it past a certain point to hit the threshold for the light to come on. So you can see I just scared the living bejesus out of everybody in this tank. Holy shit. What the hell are they freaking? I've never seen them freak out like this before when I've turned the lights on. God damn. And it's not like all the lights in the room were dark. Just their tank was dark, and they just lost their shit. Jesus. All right, well, I hope nobody got injured and all that. They're still in there freaking out. God damn. All right, I'm going to shut this whole side of the room down. So you've already seen it, and I'm just going to turn that light off with everybody else's. God damn. All right, and over here we've got a 60-gallon with my fancy goldfish in it. I've got a little 5-gallon shrimp tank over there that I got to find a home for since I reestablished this tank. I've got another 125 full of discus over here, and then I got a 20 with a betta fish, and then I got a bunch of shrimp in the tank you can see on the bottom. And I got a koi pond that has the lights turned off at the moment, but I do have a koi pond right there. And that holds about 200 gallons. So on that note, everybody, first look in front of the camera tonight. I'm getting so shaggy. I'm starting to think of myself as Uncle Jesse from the actor's name is Denver Pyle, but everybody probably knows him as Uncle Jesse from the Dukes of Hazzard. It's just getting ridiculous. So it's so fucking cold. I don't want to shave it, but it is getting a little out of control. I'm gonna apply for Santa Claus next year. Yeah, exactly. I could be a mall Santa next year. Yeah, I guess that's the difference. In the morning when I come in, I do turn the overhead light on and it kind of lights the room up and lets them know the lights are coming on. I guess with the late at night, they were expecting the lights to go out this time of night anyway for them to come back on suddenly like that. I've never seen them absolutely lose their shit like that when the lights come on. They do freak out a little bit sometimes, but not like that. That was another level. So, all right, everybody, I am going to call it good there and say thanks for watching. Oh, you guys, the Mall Santa thing is, I thought about the Mall Santa joke a long time ago. I'm definitely still going to get rid of my beard on my chin, I think, before I shave it all off and just have the big mutton chops for a couple days just for the shits of it, you know? All right, Hamilton, I will see you later. So, all my members, I will see you guys on Wednesday, as per usual, unless I have camera problems. And then everybody else, again, Friday night, Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll see you then. So, thanks for hanging out, everybody. I did a handlebar when I was younger, and my mustache doesn't curl right. It's all the wax in the world. I had one side that went down and one side that went up, and I gave up on the handlebar mustache when I was about 18. So anyway, yeah, so long and thanks for all the fish. I'll see you next week, everybody. Good night.